Hello, everyone. Welcome back here to Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to those who are joining us new for the first time. We're going to look into the springtime as promised in yesterday's soulmate snapshot. So, this is going to be a look into the springtime, a broad look, but it is going to be heavy on that soulmate energy. So, it's probably going to, the way that I don't know. I guess we'll see how the cards will come out, but I expect that this will end up in the soulmate series of readings because that's part of the way that we're asking the questions. So we're going to go ahead and look into kind of the next few months. So the overall time of springtime. And then here in a couple of days, we'll get in and we'll do the look at just April. When we do that, we have the broad look, and then the next day we have the soulmate specific one. So this one, that's what I was getting at. This one is not necessarily going to be soulmate specific. You may see some other things that are coming out, but it's a general reading. It's for this collective. Won't resonate with everybody. Shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it's you, please feel free to subscribe. Maybe check out some other videos. This has been a wild run of, like, at this point, it's been everyday videos for a little over a month after, it was steady before that, but it just started to need to come out a little bit more frequently. So that's what we're doing now. But we're going to look into the springtime and we're going to look at soulmates, but also casting a little bit broader of a picture so that other things can come out. And we're going to start with your energetic backdrop just across the spring. So, the energetic backdrop as you are getting into this spring, and we have, okay, so we have earth energy, and it's kind of this discombobulated, having a hard time relaxing sort of energy, and knowing, having the perspective to be able to say, all right, I know what relaxation ought to look like. I'm prepared for that, but for whatever reason, I'm not able to execute on it. So be looking for that in yourself. It's kind of this feeling of being busy and maybe a lot on your mind. Okay, we have a couple of things here. So, Ten of Pentacles, things aren't necessarily going poorly for you. There's definitely this sense that you are getting things accomplished the way that you need to get them accomplished. And here's the Queen of Wands in reverse talking about how you're getting things accomplished. You're doing the right things. You're on the right path. But you still might feel a little bit of that sense of overwhelm that we see coming out in that Nine of Earth energy that's in reverse. That's a perception. And oftentimes when I use this Gaia deck, the Dreams of Gaia Tarot, when the Earth comes out, that Earth energy is often a perception. It's just something that I've noticed. So I'm not saying it's always going to be that, but that's again what it feels like today. And yet you are doing a pretty great job of things, and you're doing things the right way for the right reasons. Um, there is some healing that you've really been working on, and we know this from the other readings and from my conversations with you, but there's still a lot of concern, a lot of not quite being sure if you're going down the wrong or the right path because of how difficult it is. And it feels like, I've gotten the question before, hey, this feels like it's just really difficult. It feels almost insurmountable. It's just a hot mess with me trying to deal with how I feel about this. And the answer is sometimes that's just the way that you are doing it right. This is going to feel like a hot mess sometimes. It's part of it's just part of the process. So don't allow yourself to fall into that for too long. Allow for the transformation to occur. And if you look at this Eight of Swords, this is a great one because it's got this bird caged by these swords. And so the butterfly talks about transformation, but the bird is not really caged within something that, they can fly up. It can get in between. There's not really a reason to stay within this cage. This is like the concept of overthinking. Okay, let's see what else wants to come out for you here. And this is in, again, that energetic backdrop as we look at the spring. So there's some challenge there for you, but you're actually really in a pretty good position. So it might not necessarily feel like you're making good ground, but these cards say that your healing is happening in pretty significant strides, which is a beautiful thing. But you may still be feeling some of that overthinking, and I'll bet you are, because there's been so much change in the energy here lately, especially as after spring has sprung. We think about fresh, new energy being a great thing, and it really is, but sometimes it's a little bit intense. We've had some of that. So, the Six of Wands is coming out a little bit, it's in reverse, and it's coming out a little bit like some of the way that we've seen it come out here lately. It did it for me first in a personal reading, and then it has done it since then in a general reading. But basically, the Six of Wands in the upright is it's a victory after a long battle. Now, when you see it here in the reverse, what it's feeling like to me is not so much that you can't win, it's more that the battle isn't over. You're still very much in the throes of it. You're still very much in the throes of this healing. So you're going to need the lessons about the overthinking for a while. You do have a good, strong sense of integrity. That's a beautiful thing to see coming out for you as we're looking into the energy of the spring. That's you maintaining your integrity, even if it feels like you don't have everything where you want it, the way that you want it. You're making good decisions for the right reasons. You're doing the right things. You're on a very good path. Your integrity is solid, and that is a really big deal, because if you lose that, all of a sudden you get that Nine of Swords, not being able to sleep sort of thing. And you may already have some days that are like that. You don't want to have your integrity in question on top of it. So you've got the Seven of Wands and the Fool that has come out here, along with the Eight of Pentacles. So the Eight of Pentacles is kind of like what we saw in yesterday's reading, reminding you that you've made some very nice progress and that you need to make sure that you're owning that and allowing for it. You're in a place now where you may be able to jump into something new, and something new probably doesn't take the form of a person. This is that something new energy that we've been seeing. You're very much supported, and you have this energy building in you that allows you to jump into something with great gusto. Some of the things that you guys have told me you're considering jumping into since we started talking about getting into new energy and allowing yourself to be, something was supposed to come in and set your soul on fire. That's something that we've been talking about, and it's been in many different forms. We've learned some things about it. We've learned that this is something that you may have already been using to soothe yourself a little bit. So my favorite example, if you've been using writing to soothe you, perhaps writing a book, that sort of thing, where you're suddenly going to redirect some of that energy, but it feels like a natural redirection. But this is that Fool energy of actually being able to jump in. So if you're considering going out into the world and starting a business. One person talked about doing medical missions. I just could not be more impressed with some of the ideas that I'm hearing from you guys. I love to hear that. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's the sort of energy that you need. That's what's going to help you to redirect yourself and become truly the master of your own emotions. Although you're doing a pretty great job of moving in that direction now. Some days may not exactly feel like that, but that's part of it. As you're learning to master your emotions, you're going to discover that there are some days that are not going to be as pliable as others, and you're going to have to find other ways to work with yourself, or otherwise just find ways not to allow yourself to be triggered or set off. So, this is kind of the energy of the spring. It's not simple, but you are in a great position. You're encouraged to continue doing what you're doing. There's a lot of positivity, but you're still going. The battle isn't over yet. You're bringing this great integrity into it, this great progress, and this ability to jump into something new where you're going to be very much protected and just encouraged in that energy. Oh man, we're going to look into what exactly like, what else do you need to know? What is really going on? How are things going with you guys across the spring? That's what I want to see. Not so much what exactly you're going to do, because everybody's got these really unique ideas. The ones you guys have been sharing with me have been really unique. So we don't want to talk so much about what it is. We've talked about how you might find it, what it might look like. There was a reading on that a little while ago that I thought was really, really kind of good. But this is going to be more about, well, what's the energy that's happening with you and your soulmate across the course of this season? How do things feel like they're developing right now? Okay, so now we're getting down to it. We've got the masculine, feminine. Oh, that's a real card. Some I guess they're all real cards. Sometimes when they turn over for me, it's just, oops, you didn't get the right number of cards to turn over. And so now you've got something from deeper in the deck. But every once in a while, it's one that says that was very much intentional. So we have the Queen of Water in the upright, and we have the masculine, feminine archetype card here in the reverse. And so this is a card of fire. Um, and it is about the balance between the masculine and the feminine, but it's a very intense coming at you sort of energy, which is interesting when you mix it with, this is fire and this is water. So the Queen of Water is very much a card of unconditional love. There's an incredibly loving sense to her. When you see this card come up a lot of times, so there's all of this love and this new emotion that you guys have felt that coming out. I know you have, because you've been calling me and or emailing me and asking about, should I reach out, and I'm feeling this, and are they feeling this, and they are. Um, and I know some of you have reached out, but it looks like there is, oops, I forgot to put this back in the reverse. To that point, with it being in the reverse, there's still some balance that's needed across the spring season. That's the masculine feminine balance within each of you as individuals, as well as the masculine feminine balance across the relationship. So, something to keep in mind, although the showering of the love emotion is probably a little bit on the distracting side, especially given that you're jumping into something else, but it also fuels you to a certain degree. You use that energy to it ramps you up, and you're allowed to redirect it into something that reminds you of it a little bit, or that is a natural redirection of that energy. Like I said, writing a book, if you've been using writing as your coping mechanism, that sort of thing. I mean, it's not going to look the same for everybody, and that's one of the reasons we're not looking into what exactly you're going to do. But this is the energy of it. What are you going to be running across? You're going to be balancing that masculine and feminine energy. You're going to be able to feel the love. So, one of those mantras that I talk about when I meditate, I have these mantras that I do every day, and whoops, one of them is about being able to give and receive love in equal measure, and being able to keep balance between them. Okay. And so this is really important, because it looks like here that starts to become a focus for both of you. Honestly, this is an energy that's between the two of you, and right now it seems like it is pretty solid between you. So there's going to be a little bit of, since you guys are out looking for what is that thing that's going to light my soul on fire, there's a little bit of confusion about what options you can do at the same time as doing some other ones. So what's really going to be able to be possible? What combinations of things? Now, it's hard enough to be able to see what some of those options are, but then when you start to look into what are the correlations between these things, what are the relationships in general between these different options, it can get a lot more complex. There is something here that doesn't want to change, and we've been seeing this over and over and over. If it's not allowed to change, then nothing new can grow in its place. Now, it's more an idea, more of a concept, but you guys are both really struggling with it with this Five of Wands. And so the thing is, if you can't allow the death of the egoistic piece, or of the overthinking, or there's something in there that's just really hard to get rid of. Nobody's doing this on purpose. But there's this something that's very difficult to get rid of, and you've got to figure out a way to let go of it and to get rid of it, so that something new can grow in its place. You've got to allow for that space. But you also are over here trying to evaluate what those options really look like, and it feels like a big struggle. It's hard to get the energy aligned. But that's because it's constantly kind of new things are coming to the fore, new things are happening that you're having to jump in and, okay, now let me think about this now that I've got this new information. It's that sort of thing. So it's rapidly moving, but it does look like if you continue to allow yourself to be ruled by love and governed by love, it's going to help you to get the balance in the masculine and the feminine that you really are, that you really need. So let's see what else is in the energy between the two of you and what you need to know about what you're headed for as we get into these spring months. And we just had the spring equinox not long ago. So I feel like this is a good time to pull this because I can't even think about how I would have tried to talk about the energy over the past week. If you guys have been watching these readings, you know what I mean. But this is evening out to a nice feeling of love. We see it up here with the Queen of Cups, or the Queen of Water, but we also see it here with the Ace of Cups. Ace of Cups is that opportunity for something that is basically a new beginning. The newness of it is not something that always hits me with the Ace of Cups, but always the flow of emotion hits me. What I feel here though is like new flow of emotion, new capacity for that flow of emotion. Those lessons that the two of you have been learning, it's more than, you have to do more than just learn the lessons. You also have to get to a place where you can put them into play. We've seen repeatedly in readings that your person has had a hard time putting some of these lessons into play, and maybe they've even gone out and given it a try, but they weren't there yet. So you may need to fight okay, couple of things. You may need to fight a feeling of depression, and it's a strange, misplaced feeling of depression. So look for it to be not for any specific reason and not feeling like you can connect it to anything specific. Dig in when you find that, because that's something that you're likely to run across at some point this spring. Might just seem like the light's hitting things funny and it's making you, it's putting you in a bad mood or a sad mood, or watch for it, start journaling, whatever it is that you do to start digging in. It might be your meditation or your prayer. Ultimately, what you're going to want to do is take a step back and look at the big picture. Make sure that you aren't missing too much. So when you think about it, what else can you be doing that will help you to build a strategy that helps you to get where you need to go. So we've had several very consistent lessons. One of them has been about discernment, a big lesson about discernment. We've had lessons about figuring out what it is that you truly want and understanding that the game changes on you, and that you're not always going to have everything figured out as you move into that next step. There's a lot of fear around that. And so being able to step back and look at the big picture and say, okay, there's a bunch of stuff I don't have yet, I don't get yet, lessons I haven't quite learned, but here's what I can do. Figuring out what you have some control over. It helps with this feeling here of feeling like you don't have it together the way that you want to, even though things look pretty great in your camp. And also this piece here where the struggle is really occurring to let something end, that needs to end. It's a way of thinking. This isn't going to be a real death of any person or anything like that. I mean, the death card is rarely an actual death. It's usually death of a concept. I mean, it depends on how you want to look at actual death. The Eight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups has come in reverse, and the Four of Pentacles has come in the upright. You're going to become aware across the course of this spring of things that are holding you closer or making you feel confined. And it's like you're being confined mentally in some kind of way. It's not so much a physical confinement, but it's the thing that's keeping this Eight of Cups in reverse. So it's, if you are looking for the way that you want to approach something, or you're looking for honestly that thing that you even want to approach, the Eight of Cups in reverse is that aimless wandering that you get into when you just kind of aren't even sure which direction to start going. And the Four of Pentacles is that fear that results from, let me at least hold on to what I have. And that's not necessarily something that easily goes away, but we do keep seeing that same mantra come back. And here's another one of those mantras from my meditations, but it's about release. And it is releasing the attachments and the expectations and the assumptions about people and situations and their outcomes. It is easier said than done. It takes some of us a lifetime to get there. I'm still very much working on it myself. But this aimless meandering plus this kind of grasping and a sense of lack are the things that may be really kind of slowing the process down as far as actually figuring out where that light is so you can start to direct toward it. So we'll look at that one a little bit more deeply when we get into the extended and see what else you guys need to know about the two of you, and we'll look maybe a little bit into this place that you're looking to go and what you're looking to do next too. So we'll do that in the extended, but I love this focus on the springtime because it allows us to see just a little bit. The farther into the future you go, definitely the less clear things look, but we're not specifically looking at what's going to happen, like I said. So that takes some of it, changes the question a little bit, and it says, all right, what do you need to know about this? And some of it is, hinging on readings that we've already seen and we concepts that we've seen a couple of times. And some of it is, all right, here's how you can think about it as you're moving into the springtime. You've made some good progress. You're ready to jump into this thing we've been talking about, but you're going to have challenges in the energy between the two of you. There's still going to be this need to let go, still going to be hard to maybe even see where you want to go and understand your options because of the frustrations that are just inherent in the emotions. So, we're going to take a look at where you can be focused. This is that question that I like to ask about what you can be best focused on. And a while back we decided, we noticed that we were seeing a redirection toward the lessons. And so at that point, I thought, I'm just going to kind of make sure that we incorporate it into as many readings as possible going forward. So I like to ask this question almost every day. What can we be focusing on? And we get new nuggets of wisdom every day. And the thing is, there's a lot that's on our bridge, that bridge question that we often see in the extended readings. And we'll ask it again today in this extended reading. But it's when we ask this question, it's kind of what do we want to be focused on here in the near term. So here we have that nine of air energy. This is anxiety. It's the things that are keeping you down right now. It's things that are frustrating to you and creating some of that overthinking, that energy that you see. This may be interfering with sleep every once in a while, just kind of keeping you up or maybe waking you up early. I've had a couple of you say that it wakes you up early and it's not a great way to start the day. Um, my my own response to that sort of experience was to incorporate one of my, so I told you I have these 6 mantras that I do. Well, the fifth one, and I just happen to do them in this order, they don't have to go in this order. But the fifth one that I typically do is around surrendering to the moment. And um, you every moment you can surrender to any moment, but some are just way easier than others. And when you wake up in the morning into that kind of not so happy space, surrendering to the moment was the only thing that got me by in a way that didn't feel like, I mean, I might still be crying, I might still be having a tough time, but constantly reminding myself that I was going to surrender to that and surrender to the moment takes a little bit of the fear out, because fear has a lot to do with things that are coming in front of you. And fear, dread, things like that is too much effort in the future, too much of your focus in the future. And that nostalgia, the sadness that you have from your memories, that's that's a lot of just too much of what's happening in your past. So encouraging me to surrender to now keeps me in the moment a little bit, and that helps. Now, part of what may be driving you to a little bit of this additional thinking is this Two of Wands energy. It's that impasse, whatever it is between you and your person that you've been having such a hard time getting to. And we've seen this. in so many readings, time and time again. The Two of Wands means a lot of things, and sometimes it means travel. Sometimes it means there's a need for travel. Ooh, we'll get into that Ten of Swords in reverse here in just a second. So in this case, it means a need for travel, but it's an emotional distance that needs to be traveled between the two of you. And so the sense here is that you're working on that, but you're encouraged to very much redouble your efforts in that area. It's going to help you not to focus too much on the situation with your person, but to focus in this other area that we've been looking at, this thing that's going to ignite your soul. Not hiding in work, not hiding in something. It's not a sense of hiding, it's really a sense of allowing yourself to become. To utilize some of this energy that right now is going into what is effectively a dead end. It'll start to remove some of the pain of the ending, some of the pain of the two of you no longer interacting the way that you would like to interact. For some of you, it's a break. It's a brief break, and you'll be back to interacting together before too long. But for others of you, it's going to be a little while, and so the best thing that you can be doing with your energy in that time is not to become stagnant, not to just stand and overthink, but to go ahead and find that passion. Allow the passion that we've been talking about and looking for to surface. In a lot of cases, like we've seen in the readings that we've done before, it may be standing right in front of you. It may be something that you always kind of wanted to do, but you never were able to take the time. It may be something that you've used to soothe yourself, like writing. It may be something that you started but didn't finish. It has that sense to it. We've had all of these concepts come out. And so when you start to look in front of you to see, well, what could it be? Just know it may not look the way that you expect it to, and it's probably not a person. Those are some of the things that we've seen about this new passion that wants to come your direction. Um, and that you're being encouraged to put your energy into. It's going to help transform you. And this is a transformation that you want to go ahead and seek out. With the Empress, this is very much going to be helping you to balance that feminine energy. You've got to balance the feminine energy and the masculine energy. But since so many of you are in the position of the divine feminine, balancing that feminine energy allows you to find a little bit of balance to kind of, it makes it easier to surrender to now and to be able to start balancing your masculine energy also. But some of that's going to start coming just as a matter of course once you begin to get your feminine energy balanced and start to absorb some of what you're learning here. This new thing that's really going to come and ignite you is it's going to create a lot of passion and change in you, but it may also be difficult for you to be able to get in and understand everything that's happening all the time, but you're going to be okay with it. So this 9 of Pentacles that you're kind of seeking and engendering, you're kind of encouraging it to come in, has a lot to do with knowing that you don't have all the clarity that you necessarily seek. But it's the opposite of this feeling here where you're saying, my goodness, I'm feeling like these things are hanging over my head. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle it. And things really are pretty good in your camp. You're doing a great job. It just feels more overwhelming. So this is you going ahead and catching up and saying, all right, I actually feel pretty good about things, even though some of the healing isn't done, even though I haven't figured everything out about what I'm going to do to find my passion, even though I'm still very much in that thinking cave and the clarity hasn't yet come out for me. That's a place where you're going to be able to find some comfort, even though you may not have all of everything figured out. So you know that you've been on this spiritual journey. And so I always like to get you guys, or I always have out a deck of cards that we can use for the final advice at the end, but I don't always use it. And this time I really just wanted to. So getting you that oracle card, the spiritual journey card came out. It's a journey that you're not at the beginning of it. You've already been on this. It's not even necessarily the first one that you've taken. Some of you are fairly adept at this process, understand what it's like to be triggered and to jump in and to make some of the lessons out of it. But there are so many people going through this process now. that it felt necessary for me to come out on YouTube to talk about it, because it's a really big, intense process, and it's one that takes a lot of energy. And so it's part of where you're going to want to be able to redirect some of your energy. You're allowing this new fire to be lit in new places. And as you become more adept at that, allow yourself to light the fire of your spiritual journey and to prioritize that as well. That's going to be connecting with yourself, doing your meditation and your prayer, connecting with your higher power and your higher self, your intuition. This is all inherent in this. And you have a significant opportunity to jump into that this spring with the emotions that you've had going on, with the opportunity before you, that things that you haven't been able to do yet, things that you're considering, that are options, and the struggles that you're feeling actually can be redirected. It's an opportunity with the Five of Wands to redirect that energy into something that's very practical, useful, and usable. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and we're going to go into the extended. You'll see the link down below if you want to go into that. But we're going to go a little bit more deeply into what you can expect as you're coming into the season, what you need to know about that. And then, of course, what it is that you can be doing. It has a soulmate sort of bent on it, but we are allowing the messages to be a little bit broader. So I'll see you then, or I'll see you in another reading.